All right, so everybody knows my wife and I, we love going to the Improv, Miami Improv, Dania Improv. We love the comedy shows. And Jared Freid is here at Dania Improv this weekend. Friday night, 2 shows. Saturday night, 2 shows. Sunday night, 1 show. Jared Freid is the brother-in-law of one of our good friends, of course, a regular on our show, Ruthie Polinsky, who used to be down here with NBC. She's now up there in Chicago. She's doing great. Recently married Jared's brother. But I want to tell you, Jared, so I had you on the show. You were last here about a year ago, all right? Had you on the show. Great appearance. And my wife and I, we came out to your show like that weekend, whatever it was. And if I'm going to be perfectly honest, you killed. It was one of the most fun shows that we had been to. Now, granted, okay, a couple Jewish guys here chopping it up. It was a room full of Jewish men and women out there to support you, of course. So you're going to play to that audience. But, do you know, like I said, one of the most fun shows we've been to in so long at the Improv.
Own the compliment, Zaslow. Own the compliment. Don't take away from the compliment.
Nope.
Don't say there were other. No, don't turn people away from the room. I do every crowd. I was just in Oklahoma. I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma last week and doing the same show that was just as funny for the one of the people in Boca. I go all over the country. I'm not like these people who don't go to a room. I go everywhere in the country. I work everywhere, every crowd, every age. So let me pat myself. I don't want you to. Don't ruin the compliment. You had a good one going, and then you made it Jews. No, everyone. Anyone listening will have fun on my show. I'll own it.
Do you know, Jared, how early in the show do you realize, oh, shit, this is going to kill tonight?
I mean, I'm a good comedian. I don't mean to to me, I go on stage every night for a reason, to practice, to get ready for a show like that. You get good in New York, you make money on the road. So that's where I cash my checks. So I go on the road like any good New York City comedian. You get good and you kind of struggle a little bit in New York. You work those crowds and you do every club in the city. And then you go on the road with a show. Or you might be at a comedy show where the person's asking people what they do for a living the whole night. And you're at a crowd work show with someone that didn't do the work. So that's the problem we have right now in stand-up is a lot of people are going to shows where they're, to me, TikTok, Instagram, it should be a commercial for what you'll be getting at the show, not the whole show. So, you'll see right now, Anthony Jeselnik is going on a podcast tour and just naming names and talking shit because Anthony Jeselnik can. He has the street credibility. He has he's beloved for his writing. So he can kind of be the mouthpiece of this. I can't as much. I just sound like a bitter asshole, so I think right now there's this thing where it's if you want to go to a stand and honestly stand-up is bigger than it's ever been. So I can understand that we're getting people that are going to stand-up shows that have never been and just think, oh, it's this guy talking to the guy in the front the whole show.
Yep.
And people do that. And that's okay. I mean, that's a different show to me. That's an improv show. But I do know when an audience is hot, when it's fun, you can feel the first sentence. You just know, okay, these people are, and it's a two-way street. The audience has to be there to have fun, and I have to I have to be ready with material. So it is. I do. So back to your question, right away. It's when it's not happening, when you can feel that it's awkward and people the crowd isn't on the same page to have a fun time. It feels like you're playing a dead drum. You're what happened to this drum? This same joke, I hit this drum the same way every day, and this is a new noise. And it's so there's jokes that I do where I'm I have 100%ers, I have 80%ers, I have 70%ers, I have 50%ers. Some jokes are for the middle of the set and for people that really get it, or I'm on, connecting with. And there's some jokes that are for everyone. The ones that are for everyone, and I feel that dead drum beat, I go, all right, we're going to have to go into basic maneuvers and figure this out. But thank you so much. I'm happy you guys had fun.
Oh my God, we had such a great time. Here's what I find problematic about part of what you said, as someone who goes to a ton of comedy shows and has been going to a ton of comedy shows for many years with my wife, because stand-up is so huge these days and it's all over social media and you got the clips out there. comics seem to only be putting out clips of their crowd work. And I understand that because you don't want to spoil your material. So it makes sense to put crowd work out there. But what's wound up happening, I believe, is you have some people who maybe have never been to a comedy show and they think, oh, this is crowd participation night every single night. And that's because this is what we're seeing being posted on social media is all the crowd work.
It's our fault too. It's like a chicken or egg thing, you know, like, you know, you want people to come to your shows. You don't want to burn material. You don't want someone coming to the show and going, I just saw this on Instagram. What am I doing here? You know, so it's hard because what do you do? Like for me, you know, the Netflix special, the thing I was very proud about was like the minute that came out, I was like on the road doing a whole new hour. So I was like, I wasn't going to repeat a single joke from that special. So like, that was kind of, to me, I'm like, that's the commercial I have now. So I could put out material. But if you're a young comic and you're just like chomping at the bit to get out there on the road, like, what do? You just end up putting out as much crowd work as possible, hoping you'll hit an algorithm, and you don't really get good at the craft of doing stand-up. It's hard. And it's like, again, I sound like a douche saying the craft of doing stand-up. Like, I don't want to be that guy. And sometimes I feel like I'm defending this thing that like is changing. Like, I'll give you an example. I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. There's a guy in the crowd. He messaged my brother. He knows my brother somehow. He's like, I'm seeing your brother live for the first time. I'm so excited. This is great. Okay. He's messaging my brother. He's excited to come. He also says to my brother, what can I say to him on stage to like mess with him? And my brother's like,
fucking nothing.
Just go. And my brother wrote back like very politely, like, hey, I'm sure he's got a whole act ready for you. Just laugh. You know, that's all you have to do. And the guy writes back. He's like, no, I know you. I get it. You're being very mature. But what could I say? He like wouldn't listen to him. He goes, but what could I say to him? He goes, because I'm sure your brother does crowd work. And it's like, you want to be like, you're sure of nothing. You don't know anything about me. Like, you know, I don't know. It's frustrating. It's tough because I do get what you're saying is totally true. If you see that online, you go, well, I'm going to go. And listen, I hosted for 7 years at the Comedy Cellar, like in New York City. I hosted every night there. So like that is, you have to do crowd work to host a show. You have to go on stage. Hey, welcome to the club. You know, who's here from out of town? You have to do kind of like the cheesy shit that no one really wants to do. But that kind of puts you like trial by fire. You end up having to do the crowd work that maybe some people don't get to practice. So like I can do that, you know, it's in my sheath, so to speak. But it's, you know, if I come with an hour and 15 minutes, you know, I'm ready to like, you know, fucking go, you know, like, I don't know. So it's hard. It's hard to like, you know what? I want people to go, I had a live experience. You don't want to feel disconnected. There's a whole thing. It's all insecurities. It's all just like, you know, I just have to do me and then hope people walk away and go, hey, I had a great time. Even though it was a room full of Jews, you know, like, so.
So I'm in New York once or twice a year, and I always, like every time right before I make the trip, I'll go online to the Comedy Cellar's website, and I'm so tempted to go. Even if I go by myself, but I'm a little bit intimidated of going because I feel like like this is the real fucking deal, this place, you know? And I know they have their procedures and all of that. Should I be intimidated? I'm a little intimidated.
No. Here's the so I've been working the Comedy Cellar for close to like 10 years now. I consider it home. Here's the hack. Here's what you do. If you're going to go to the Comedy Cellar, usually when you get to the website and think of it, everything shows sold out. Even if it's sold out, go. A half hour before every show, they do a standby list. It's a reservation system. You pay on the way out. So those sold out is not really sold out.
They may not show up. Yeah.
They may not, and probably won't. And if you don't make one show, there's another show starting in a half hour. So like my suggestion to you is go. You have to go. Also, if you don't have a ticket, go a half hour before and just wait in one of the lines, talk to the door guy and be like, hey, I just want to go to a show. What's the next one I can like hop in line for? And if you're right now listening and you're like got a trip in 2 months or whatever it is, go make a reservation now. The lineups are all going to be good. They're all going to be fun. They're all going to be pros. So,
and which one do I go to though? Like, there's this one, and there's this one, and there's this one. Which one do I go to?
If I was visiting New York, here's the list: McDougal Street, Village Underground, Fat Black Pussycat Lounge, then Fat Black Pussycat Bar is the order I would put it in as a comedian, because the McDougal Street room is like the classic basement, New York City, 100 people. And also you can text me and I'll make sure you're all set. I'll get you in. But I'm saying for the everyday Jim and Joe and not us, royalty that, sit here on the ZASLOW show. Everyone just go make a reservation now. Like, just do it. Because I think it's like the perfect New York City night. You sit, you get 5 performers. It's an hour and a half. You might get a star that shows up. You might not, but it's still going to be great comedians. You eat, you drink, and now you pop out in the middle of the West Village and you're like in the middle of Saturday night, New York City, Friday night, New York City, Thursday night, like a good space to be in. Like, I can't say enough good. It's like easy sell for me because like I love it there. I love the staff there. I love doing comedy. But it's like such an easy recommendation because I know whoever goes is just going to be blown away by, you feel like you're doing something that's from another time. I really do believe that.
What's a night that you were hosting at the Comedy Cellar and the crowd just like couldn't fucking believe that X comic showed up? They went crazy.
So I've hosted and brought on stage like everyone. Like I've had like, Chappelle's the one you like have like maybe seen a picture of him there. So like it's funny that like Chappelle is like surprising, but people are like, whoa, we got a Chappelle night. Like Louis there a lot. The ones that got the biggest.
When you say a lot, like when you say a lot, what's a lot?
Like over the past month, I've seen Louis there like 5 or 6 times. Like
that's a lot.
That's a lot. Like, but like on a Monday, Tuesday, like it's not like a Saturday hot. It's like rando Monday night. Chappelle was just there last weekend. I saw, but I was out of town. I have 2 fun ones that were like crazy. 3. I'll do them quick. The first was Judd Apatow when he first started kind of getting back into stand-up. And people didn't know that he was as into stand-up as he is. And the fun part for me was like, I love the movie Heavyweights. And I knew that he made the movie Heavyweights, which is about the fat camp with Ben Stiller as the crazed fat camp, administrator. So I go up to him and I'd never met him. And I was like, so I'm about to bring him on stage. And like, when you bring someone who's a pop-in or, a special guest, I do a little spiel. When I used to host, I would be like, okay, every now and again, we get a special guest. Tonight's one of those nights, and give it up for Judd Apatow. So I'm about to do that. And it used to be you could have your phone in your pocket. Now they make you lock up your phone. So they tell you, like, remind the audience. I would like, as the host, you become the audience's friend. I don't want people to get kicked out. Like, I don't want people. And I'm a normal person just like anyone else. If I see a celebrity, it's like a gun in my holster. I'm like, I got to take out my phone. So I used to go up and I'd be like, hey, listen, can you guys make sure I got some complaints? I would make it up. I'd go, I got complaints from the staff. We can't take out the phone. Please. And no one would listen to me. And I go, hey, can I just get like a clap that like acknowledges that you won't take out the phone? And then they clap like, okay, substitute teacher. And then, all right, your next comic, Judd Apatow. And they're like, wah! They go crazy. Okay, so I went up to Judd and I go, hey man, I just want to say I'm a big fan and my favorite movie of all time is Heavyweights. And I'll never forget. He looked at me and he goes, it's a little dark for Disney. And I was like, I never thought of it as a Disney movie until right then. And I was like, yeah, he's right. It is a dark movie to be on Disney. So that was one. The other one, I did an hour there. So like, if you work at the Cellar, they'll like let you have the room for an hour. I'm doing this. I'm taping another special, not this weekend, but next weekend, a week from now.
Okay.
And so leading in, I'll do a couple hours at the Cellar. So I did an hour like years ago where I was like, hey, why don't I do an hour and whatever? And people came and I was in their smaller room. It was the Fat Black Lounge. It's like 80 people. And a lot of people were like, this was early for me. I didn't really, I had people in New York that followed me. So like I did everything I can to get New York people out. So it was like people who listen to my podcast, like real early subscribers. a lot of my friends came, and they're all there, and I'm like, I just done an hour, and it was fine. And then they hand me a napkin, and I'm like, and it says on the napkin, Kevin Hart's here. And I'm like, whoa. So it's like a room full of people who like are kind of like my college friends are there.
Yeah.
And I literally go, okay, well, hey guys, I'm done. Thank you. And they're like, everyone's like, oh, okay, cool. Good night. And I go, can you wait for one more? There's another comic here that wants to go on stage. I'm like, give it up for Kevin Hart. They're like, ah! They go crazy. And like
So
my
good.
college friends like will never forget it. They're like, that's crazy.
So
and Kevin
good.
Hart, especially him, like he just looks like a star, like I think to be like 4 inches from him, you might think of him as like the funny guy from the movies. He is like a star, like some people just kind of ooze that. Him, Ali Wong had that too. Like she kind of just looked like a celebrity. So that was that. And then the best one was because all of these were like surprises. Like it wasn't people that you heard, of surprises. These were more surprising. The best one was I was on stage, and all of a sudden it gets really loud in the back of the room, and I'm like, bring on the next comic. And I'm like, it sounded like a bunch of people had just walked in the Village Underground. And I'm like, okay, give it up for your next comic. And I bring up the next comic, and then I come back to like the area where the comics are, and it's all these people. And in the middle of all these people, it's Tracy Morgan. And it's like his whole private jet like showed up together to watch him go on stage. And they're like, okay, Tracy's going to go on next. And like the guy on stage who I just brought up, he didn't know, just like I didn't know who was here, what was going on. And he was on stage like, what's going on back there, whatever. And then I give him the light. I go back on. I go, okay, we got a very special guest. Give it up for Tracy Morgan. People freaked out because, again, not really who of the list of comedians, he's as famous as anyone else, but just place and time, you wouldn't put them together, So place goes crazy. And then he comes on stage and literally gives me a 10 Mississippi hug.
Had you ever met him?
Never met him. And literally holds on to me and like literally will not let me go. And I'm like, and he like finally releases me, and the place is just going nuts. So it was just that was probably the 3 that I like remember the most. And there's other people, but there's always people showing up.
I love it. Jared Freid, again, I saw Jared about a year ago. Absolutely killed. Dania Improv, 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday, 2 shows Sunday. I do want to ask before you go, you do a lot of family humor. You do a lot of dating humor. I mean, Jared's special on Netflix is 37 and Single. Do you ever get complaints from your family? Does your mother ever get upset with some of the jokes?
No, because every story's true. It's like those, like when I tell stories on stage, they're all true. And they're all like stuff that I've debated with my parents. Like it is like, so like all the players are true. I'm not speaking out of turn. Like it's stuff that we'd laugh at together today. And they, my mom would go, no. And I'd be like, you did that. It's like that kind of like banter you have with your parents where you're like, do you understand how much of an asshole you sound like? And they're like, no, I'm not an asshole. They like when I come into the room and I scream, like it's like that type of shit.
Yeah.
So I brought my parents to the Comedy Cellar, and this is when I first started doing material about them. And I remember like the whole staff was like, have they seen it yet? And I'm like, no. And I didn't even think to be nervous about it. They're like, your mom, like, is she going to be mad? I go, why would she? I was like, why would she be mad? She lived this shit. Like, there's no, I'm not making up any of this. So
is she mad? Are you asking me if my mother's mad at her life?
Right. Of how she treats me? She should be. Like, so then I bring them downstairs to the Comedy Cellar. I'm about to do a set, and they bring me on, and it's so funny because like I start doing material about my mom, and like the whole staff is looking at me, looking at my mom, looking at me, looking at my mom, and then suddenly my mom just starts yelling out, "No, that's not what happened. It happened this way." Like she's debating me from off stage, and they're all laughing, and the crowd is like, "What's going on right now?" And I'm like, "That's my mom. That's what I'm talking about right now." So everyone starts laughing at that. So like, it's never, a lot of it's just about how I feel going through these things that other people really did. Like, the part where I make it, a little bit crazy is when I'm talking about like what it's like and what it feels like and angered I am. It's never to like make someone look bad or feel bad. And at first, I remember when I started doing the family stuff, like it wouldn't work because sometimes it can sound sad. Like, and I'm not looking to complain, like I'm looking to complain, but like in a funny way, So some people get it, some people they're like, you're talking about my family, and I'm horrified when my parents, offer me their Ozempic,
Again, Jared's going to be at the Dania Improv this Friday, 2 shows, Saturday, 2 shows, Sunday, 1 show, DaniaImprov.com. Excellent appearance. So you're 2 for 2 here on ZASLOW Show 2.0. Excellent appearance.
I got to do right by Ruthie. I got to make sure she wants to stay in our family with all the crazies she has to hang out with.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And again, go see Jared this weekend. You will have a great, great time. Good catching up with you, Jared. Thank you so much, man.
Pleasure. Can't thank you enough for having me. This was great.